Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you once again for joining me and again for your support and your belief in me. It really makes a difference. And I'm so grateful for our sponsor, Veracity Networks. Thank you for supporting me and my good friend Drew Peterson's the owner of that company, and they do great work. And he's been such a support for me over the years, and I want to thank you guys. It's really helped get this podcast out to many, many people, and I couldn't do it without you, so thank you. And if it wasn't for my amazing guests, and we have another amazing guest today, Jon Gossett. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on.
And I said that correctly, right?
You did.
Okay, good.
I've been called worse.
You've been called worse, yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of being on Jon's podcast. What's it been now? Has it been a couple months or a month?
Seems like it.
It's been a minute, but it was great to get to know you and what you're doing. And I can't wait for my listeners to hear your story and this, and what you're passionate about and what you're doing in today's world to make it better. So a little background on Jon. Jon was recognized that there was too many people dying by suicide in his hometown. This set him on a course of action back in February of 2014, where he founded Life's Worth Living Foundation. It's a nonprofit suicide prevention company or organization to make a difference where he lived. He also realized where he lived in Tooele, it was the fourth. See, am I saying this right?
The fourth county with the most suicides in the state.
Fourth county with the most suicide in the state, and then Utah was ranked 5th in the nation for suicide. That was a little alarming to me when I read that. I didn't realize
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And so I know this has been one of Jon's missions, is to help prevent suicide and make a difference in people's lives, especially those who are even thinking of, harming themselves. Jon's been a light to those people. This foundation was recognized back in 2015, and then you were the Citizen of the Year in 2016, and then you received the Community Service Award and Person of the Year back in 2017.
It was Tooele, so
yeah. Still though, I think that's amazing. You're a passionate leader. When you set your mind to do something, you do it, you accomplish it, and you really are. You're very confident and a very passionate and driven about what you love to do. And when I met you, I was like, man, I'd love to have you on my show. So thank you for taking the time to be here with us. I appreciate it. So that was a long introduction, but there's a lot more to your story. But why don't we start, Jon? Tell us a little bit about yourself growing up and about your family.
Okay. Well, I was born in Provo, Utah, and my folks were going to college at BYU, and my dad worked for the government. We moved around quite a bit. I lived in California, Montana, New Mexico. But about the time I turned 8, we moved back to Utah. And I've lived my whole life here. Went to Orem High School.
Right.
After I graduated from Orem High, I left on an LDS mission for Texas, the Fort Worth mission, and spent a couple of years there. And
did you eat a lot of barbecue?
Oh, yeah. I love barbecue.
My nephew went there, and that's why I said that. He's like, we had barbecue every single night. And he goes, and it's the best barbecue you'll ever have.
It is. Well, when I got there, they asked me, they said, hey, we right as soon as I meet the mission president, he says, hey, I see you speak Spanish. And I said, well, I took it in high school. And he goes, yeah, but you took it every year, and we're short on Spanish-speaking elders. Would you be interested in being Spanish speaking? And well, I didn't want to upset him or
you're like,
make him think less of me, but I was like, you obviously haven't seen my grades. And so they put me Spanish speaking and flew me into West Texas that evening. And
wow.
I spoke or attempted to speak Spanish for about the first 3 months. Mm-hmm. And they realized that I kind of sound like a hillbilly from Santa Clara trying to speak Spanish. And so they moved me to English speaking. And then my last 3 months, I had some health problems. In my last 3 months, I had lost a lot of weight, and they put me in the Tongan speaking mission for the last 3 months. And so I spent about 6 months not knowing what was being said.
Jeez, really? That Tongan language is not an easy language.
No.
Yeah. That's where my daughter served. She served in Tonga.
Yeah. There's very little that I can.
Yeah.
But, no, I enjoyed it. And then when I came back, I started a business, I'm a tile contractor.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for the last 130 years, I
Right.
think. So I'm still doing that today.
Right on. So tell us about, just how was it growing up in your family? What was it like? What were some of the things that you took from that that were powerful and beneficial for you today?
Well, one of the things that has benefited me that I didn't think would benefit me was I grew up, I'm the baby. I grew up with 4 older sisters, and
Really?
and I had an older brother that passed away at like 2 years old.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I never met him. So I pretty much grew up with 4 older sisters, and my dad was a military guy, Army
Okay.
Ranger. And so growing up with 4 sisters, I don't know if it gave me more empathy, but I know it was like a curse growing up as a kid because, you'd get up and stand and talk in front of people and tear up. And every time I did, my dad would say, "You're not a Gossett. You're a Nichols. You're just like your mother's family." And and it was, it bothered him because my dad never cried, never showed emotion. And so I always thought that was kind of a curse until getting into the space that I'm working in now. And man, without empathy, you really can't do anything. And so
Right.
it was a curse the first half of my life. And,
Sure.
And now I'm finally coming to accept it. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, having 4 sisters too, you probably never got the bathroom. I'm sure it was always occupied.
Yeah. My family teases me because I still don't take hot showers. I wasn't used to one. All the hot water was gone by the time I got in the shower. So.
Wow. Well, why don't you tell us about your foundation and why this even came about and why you're so passionate about, suicide prevention and helping people in that arena?
Yeah. If somebody had told me 10 years ago that this is what I was going to be devoting so much time to, I would have laughed at them because I'm a fun guy.
Right.
I think I'm funny. And this isn't a place where you can be funny and laugh a lot. It's a very serious subject. And so
Sure.
2014, my youngest son was his 3rd year of wrestling at state for Tooele High School. And we had we'd always gone to the St. George Parade of Homes until he started wrestling. And then the state wrestling tournament was the first weekend of the home show in St. George. And so we always put it back to that last weekend of the home show. The 3rd year that he wrestled at state was no different. So we had watched him wrestle at state and then went that last weekend. Normally he would want to go with us. And this time in 2014, he says, "I think I'm going to stay behind." I said, "Okay, but we're going to have people check on you." You know, I'm not naive. I was thinking, okay, he's going to try to have a party at my house or something.
Right.
He's a good kid. But,
sure,
we got down there and Friday morning we woke up and got word that one of his teammates that we had traveled to all these tournaments with his parents had died by suicide. And coach had taken all the wrestlers out of class, taken them down to the lunchroom, sat them down, told them the news. They were tears, people were devastated. My son was a lightweight. The boy that passed was a heavyweight, but yet they were on the same team for 3 years. He was also a football player, really popular. And so it was devastating. So I told my son, we'll head home. And he goes, "No, Dad, just stay where you're at. We're going to hang out with Coach today.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going to go to Coach's house. We're all going to be together as a team, so it won't do any good for you to come home." So we agreed to stay, but said, "Hey, we can leave whenever you want."
Right.
Back. And so that was Friday. So Friday we looked at houses. We're a little bit bummed out all day long, just having that overshadowing the day.
Right, yeah.
Saturday we got up, looked at homes again on Saturday, but still in our mind all day long, like, wow, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, right.
And devastated for his parents, sweetest people on the planet. And that evening, we had reservations for dinner. And we were just getting ready to be seated, and my best friend called me. And I saw he called. I put the phone back in my pocket, and my wife's like, "That's rude. Are you not going to take his call?" And I just said, "It's so noisy in here. We're getting ready to be seated. I'll just call him when we leave."
Yeah.
So as we were leaving the restaurant, headed back to the condo, I gave him a call, and he didn't answer. So I shot him a text and just said, "Hey, what's up, big guy?"
Yeah, right.
And it was late, but he's usually up late. And he texted me back, and I won't say exactly what he said, but in his text he was very direct, and he let me know that his son had taken his life. And it was like 2 in 2 days, you know? I mean, just, and both in Tooele, and we'd had some previous in the year. We'd had, you know, 2014 was a rough year. And so I came back. We had that next week, we had 2 funerals, 1 day apart, you know. And a couple of weeks later, lost another young man in Tooele, and just kind of weighed heavy on my mind. Nothing I'd ever thought of before, but just for some reason, this time period really hit home. And so I remember going to sleep, and, you know, at my age, it's typical to kind of wake up in the middle of the night and have a little insomnia. And so I woke up and just had these things rolling through my mind. And my wife woke up and said, "What's the matter? Why are you awake?" And I said, "You're going to hate me, but I think I'm going to start a foundation for suicide prevention." And she kind of chuckled and said, "You don't know anything about suicide." And I didn't. And so I said, "But you know what? I know I'm a hard worker, and I'll figure it out.
Figure some stuff
out." And so we started that journey, filing for our 501c3 right out of the gate, and dumped the money in to get it going. And I found out as much information as I could. I knew there were 6 trainings that the governor had on a list that were evidence-based trainings. And I said, I'm going to get all of those. And so we rocked those out, got all of them out.
Nice.
And that was February. And I think we got approval, might have been like September of 2014, from the IRS for the 501c. And we just started going. And it was interesting because we kind of just let it go the way we felt. Any direction we felt would be appropriate, we let it go. One of the things that I felt was really important was there was not a suicide support group in Tooele. And it seemed like every other county had one, but Tooele didn't.
That's probably a little surprising, right?
And I'd never been to a support group.
Right.
And I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy that would go sit in a group of strangers and kind of lay it all out there. It seemed awkward and odd to me. And we decided, you know what, we're going to start it. And so we started it fall of 2014. And I remember going, well, let's bring some refreshments and drinks. And I told everybody on the board of directors, we might be sitting in a circle looking at each other.
Right.
There might not be anybody that comes to this. And that evening we had 5, I call them kids, but they were, you know, anywhere from teens to 20s, 5 that came that night. That were actively had suicide ideation. They were thinking about suicide.
Really?
We had families that had lost loved ones, and I think we had about 15 in whole to the first meeting.
First meeting, wow.
And
that's awesome.
We continued to do that on a monthly basis. We outgrew the church where we were doing it. Mm-hmm. We moved to the college, moved from the college to the hospital, who's been a big sponsor of what we do. And we found a home in the hospital, and that's where we've been doing it ever since. And we've been bringing in about 30 a month. Wow. And I think to myself, how many more are out there? How many more are out there that have no idea that, you know, or just don't feel comfortable enough to come?
Right.
But if you're getting 30 a month, man, that's a success. I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. Well, especially on that first night when you're thinking, is it just going to be us two looking at each other? And then all of a sudden.
And then the fear was, oh my gosh, people are here. What do we say? What do we do? You know?
Yeah. Wow. How did that go? Yeah. Speaking of that, like, what did you say? I mean, you're probably like, man, this is brand new to us.
You know, I'll tell you the biggest blessing. And I think when I've been to any trainings on facilitating a support group, they say typically it's best to keep the people that are in crisis in their own meeting, and the families, the survivors of loss, in another meeting.
Oh, okay.
And for me, it's not been that way, because I'll tell you what, if you lose a child or a loved one to suicide, usually you haven't had the time to tell them what you wished you could have told them.
Yeah.
There's always those woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah.
However, you know, say they lost a child 5 years ago, and they come to that support group and they've got another child that is in crisis. The best advice comes from the loss survivors.
Wow.
Because they've now figured out, you know, if I could go back in time, this is what I would have said.
Yeah, here's what I would have done differently.
And so, I mean, the blessing was having those survivors of loss at that first meeting that just said, oh man, you know, don't do that to your family. And this is how we would have felt. And, you know, and I really think it's been great. We're kind of
Wow.
we joke around about us being kind of a little dysfunctional family, but what a cool thing it is.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, so I know you're also doing some other amazing things, not on top of that. And I want to keep talking about that, but you also do this walk to raise awareness.
Yeah, and that kind of came about a funny way too.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
You know, there's other groups like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They do what's called an Out of Darkness walk, and they do it at Liberty Park. And they do it other locations across the state, but here in the Valley, they do it at Liberty Park, and it gets thousands of people that come to it. And it was interesting because we did some type of event. I can't even remember what it was, but we did some type of event, and we gave the press release, and the press didn't show. Nobody came. No TV channels, no newspapers or anything.
Yeah.
And I remember being a little bugged about it because
Sure.
I thought this would have been something really good to cover. And
Yeah.
so again,
Well, very important too.
I get
yeah.
these weird thoughts when I should be sleeping. But one of the thoughts that came to mind was, the press doesn't show up necessarily unless you do something crazy, do something stupid. And
It's probably true, right?
and, something that would get attention,
Yeah.
right? And again, my wife woke up. What are you up for? And I said, you know what I'm going to do? She said, what? And I said, I'm going to walk to Windover. And she goes, you're stupid. Go back to bed. and we kind of laughed about it, and we still joke about it because, Tooele, you take the Tooele exit off I-80. That's exit 99.
Right.
So that means it's 99 miles to the state line at Windover. And so she goes, there is no way you're going to walk 100 miles. I said, listen, no offense. I love Oprah. No offense to Oprah, but I'm like, Oprah Winfrey ran a marathon. If Oprah Winfrey can run a marathon, I can certainly walk a marathon, right?
Yeah.
We can bang this thing out.
Yeah.
And so I remember taking it to the board of directors and saying, what do you guys think? Should we go walk to Windover? It would be the longest suicide prevention walk in the nation. And
Wow.
I know we could do it. And I figured it out. If we do 5 miles an hour and we rotate, we won't walk the full 100, but we will.
Yeah, you'll have people walking it.
Somebody will be walking.
Someone
that
will be
whole
doing
100
it.
miles, and I got a little bit of kickback. One of the people on the board says, "Listen, I'm not walking down I-80. If somebody got hurt, I'm done. I'm not going to be on the board anymore." Very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
One of my best friends. And I said, "Listen, we're going to take every precaution we can. We'll keep, the vehicle behind us. We'll keep a sheriff in front of us. We'll be kind of sandwiched between the two." So we went to UDOT, and they said, "No, you're not walking down I-80. It's not going to work."
Yeah.
And so we refigured the plan, said, okay, we'll walk from Tooele City Hall out through Grantsville. When we hit I-80, we'll jump on the frontage road, which is dirt, and we'll walk. There's a downside, and I've never told anybody this. The downside is it's way more than 100 miles because that road's not straight. It winds up into the foothills and kind of comes back. So if you've walked the walk and you wonder why it felt like more than 100 miles, sorry, but you still got to do it.
Yeah.
But, and so
That's
we
awesome.
walked this dirt road. And I'll tell you what, we have done that every year, except for this year, and it had to be canceled because of COVID. We've moved up to where we're taking charter buses like La Bus and Salt Lake
okay,
Express. We've used them in the past. These buses have a bathroom in them.
Yeah.
You're comfortable, and they got charging stations, and basically what you'll do is walk as long as you can. We do 5-mile sections, and if
Okay.
you want to walk 10, just keep out
Just
of
keep
the bus.
going, yeah.
If you're tired, if you can't make it the 5, if you only can make it 1, then get back in the bus. It's going 5 miles an hour, so you just walk back, get on the bus, and there's treats and drinks in there. And the first year, I'll probably mess up the numbers, but the first year, I think, as a whole, we did a walkathon at the high school in conjunction with the Hope Squads. I think we walked like a combined 800 miles that first year.
Wow.
The second year, we over doubled it. The third year, we were, I want to say, in the 3,000 miles that we rocked out.
That's amazing.
Because we were taking more people.
Taking
It's
more.
more than doubled every year. This year, we were scheduled to take 200 walkers, 4 tour buses, and it was going to be our biggest one yet. And then COVID broke out in March, and April's when we go. And so we canceled it, but it has been recognized by Attorney General Sean Reyes has spoken about it. And we have his speech on our YouTube channel. But
Right.
It is the longest suicide prevention walk in the nation. It's been recognized. We've had people come in from as far away as D.C. to walk it.
No way, that's
people
amazing.
from most, and it's not just Tooele people that are walking it.
Yeah.
So I think last year's walk, over half of the people were from outside Tooele County, from the Wasatch Front,
Right.
different parts of the state that just wanted to be a part of it. And there's something interesting because when you're walking that, it's kind of like the first day of school. You get to the first day of school in a new school, you don't know anybody.
Right.
So at registration at City Hall, at 5:30 in the morning, you're standing around kind of a wallflower. You don't know any of these people.
Who are these people? Yeah.
And it's funny, by the time that bus comes back that third day and drops everybody off at City Hall, people are, exchanging phone numbers,
Right.
and they've become friends for life. They're on Facebook. You're seeing all
Yeah.
these people communicating still. But there's something healing about that walk. You've got 100 miles of nothing. Desert, right?
Yeah.
Salt flats. And you might think that your story is the worst story in the world, that you've endured or suffered, and you hear other people's stories. And they'll be on the buses with the mic at the front of the bus that the bus driver uses,
Right.
telling their story to everybody on the bus as we're driving. I mean, it's really an incredible time.
Jeez.
And then when we get to the end, we get a police escort to the Windover Will, the big cowboy in the middle of the
Right.
strip.
Uh-huh.
And we take
Yeah.
a big group photo in front of that. We take half of the Red Garter Hotel and Casinos hotel. And then we do a huge after party in the historic Windover Airfield and have a concert. Last year's concert was Kennedy Dodds. If anybody has been watching
Sure.
America's Got Talent,
Yeah.
she was our entertainment. And I'll tell you, we had one of my friends that's a Nashville recording artist had to back out at the last minute, and he sent me some names of people that are local that might be able to do it. And he sent me about 6, and Kennedy Dodds was on that list. And I kind of watched some of their things, and
Right.
my wife said, "Who are you going to pick?" And I said, "I think I'm going to go with this 14-year-old little girl."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Really? Out of all those, that's who you're going to pick?" And I said, "Something feels right about it." And
Yeah.
turned out that she had lost a cousin to suicide and had written a song about suicide. It was one of the most beautiful songs you've ever heard. It's on our YouTube channel as
Really?
well. And it's entitled "It's Not Your Time to Go." And it was there wasn't one person. See, I'll get all emotional telling that, but there wasn't one person that wasn't tearing up. And I thought, it's funny, you get the right people in your
Yeah.
path. And this little girl was meant to be there,
Yeah.
and her career is going to just rocket.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
going to keep going, but it was fun watching her get some publicity on America's Got Talent. But, that walk had, I don't know how many things like that were just people that were meant to be in our path. And
Right.
from the bus driver to this little girl. And I think it's probably one of the coolest things we've ever done. So I'm stoked about it. If you're listening to this and you think, gosh, I want to be part of it, we do have a Walk to Windover Facebook page, Instagram. So get
Right.
on there and find it, because it's going to happen next year. I mean,
For sure.
this year we were so bummed we couldn't take the buses and take the
Yeah.
people that my family and one other family just got in our cars and had somebody drive while the rest were walking, and we walked it alone. When we got to Windover, the casinos were boarded up, and
Yeah.
there was no party at the end. I sang on the ride home, so I mean they had that, but I mean, but it was
Lucky
awesome.
them, right?
Yeah, lucky
Yeah.
them.
Wow. So you
So
still did it. That's amazing.
We did it alone, and
Yeah.
and it felt good to do it, and I felt bad because I knew there were people that wanted to do it, and I felt bad to do it without them, but we couldn't do it with the blessing of the health department,
Right.
Or
Yeah, it's
and
understandable.
we had nowhere to stay, and so.
Yeah.
But it's amazing,
Wow. That sounds like an amazing event. And
really.
you know,
cool.
I like what you said. We had to kind of get the press, interested in what we're doing. It's like, hey, here's what we're doing, guys. You said it's the longest one suicide
nation.
walk in the nation.
And I'll tell you, they all showed up.
Oh,
We
I
had
bet.
Salt Lake Tribune, all the papers, the newspapers, and every television channel showed up for us. So
Wow.
it's
That
just
is
proof. If you're trying to get their attention, that's
Yeah.
how you do it.
Yeah. do something amazing like that. And that really is amazing. And how do you feel like the awareness has grown because of just, if we just look at the walk that you're doing,
in
how is
Tooele
that done?
County, it really has. And I envision at some point in time, again, it's not just about Life's Worth Living Foundation. It's about, there's so many amazing people that are doing similar things and through their own foundations or their own organizations. So my goal is that we have 29 counties. Wouldn't it be cool that if we could all come together and do walks across our counties? I mean, if you're in Daggett County, man, you're done in 20 minutes. But I mean,
right.
If you're in Box Elder or some of these Tooele County, they're pretty big. But I think, how cool would that be as a state if we each county did that combined on the same days?
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, awareness, our foundation has a threefold mission: awareness, to raise awareness, educate, and prevent suicides. And awareness is key. I mean, if you're not making people aware that there's a problem, there's so many people that haven't been affected that just don't realize how bad it is.
Exactly.
So.
No, that's wonderful. Well, tell us, you've done some training and you've been doing this for a while now. What's some information you could share with our listeners of, maybe they've been suicidal before, or they know someone that seems really depressed or down, or what's some things that you could share with us that you've learned through this whole, growth process that you've been through?
Well, I wish there was a way to teach empathy. And, I think as a culture, it's probably worldwide, but definitely here within the United States, we're so focused on number one, on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're paying attention to, is ourselves. And the trick is, there is so much going on outside. I mean, if you're not aware and you're not looking, you're not going to see it. It's kind of like, you've probably heard people say this before, if I focus on, I want to see a butterfly today, you're probably going to see a butterfly today.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is, there are people that are suffering. They say that there's about 1 in 20 that are currently thinking of suicide. So, I mean, if you're a kid and you're in a school class, there's somebody in your class that's thinking of suicide. If you're at church, there's how many people in that congregation that are thinking of it. If you are at the grocery store, I mean, think about these places. And so I think the key is to be the person, and I don't know how to teach empathy, but I can tell you that if you're watching people and you're listening for signs, most of the time people aren't going to come out and say, I'm thinking about killing myself today. It just isn't going to be something that leaves their lips. And so you'll hear phrases like, man, I wish I could just go to sleep and never wake up. Or my family would be better off without me. Or nobody notice if I wasn't here tomorrow. I mean, those are kind of the things that you hear.
Right.
There's a story, and I'll get emotional again.
It's okay.
There's a story I heard from a good friend, Taryn, and she said there was a kid in 3rd grade that went to school, and while he was at school, he said to his best friend, he goes, I want to give you my Hot Wheels. And he goes, well, why are you giving me your Hot Wheels? And he goes, because I'm moving. And he goes, you're moving? And he goes, where are you moving to? And he says, to heaven. And that kid went through school that entire day, and lucky for that 3rd grader, somebody by the end of the day had clued in and got him the help that he needed. Because let me tell you, 3rd grade, it's happening. The youngest in Utah was a kindergartner.
Really?
Yeah. Since I've been doing it, the oldest that I'm aware of is 95. And so, I mean, that's a huge age range. And so if we're paying attention and listening for things that just seem out of the ordinary, if you know somebody that's usually in a pretty good mood and you notice their mood drop, ask them a question. Find out what's going on. Now, that goes both ways. If you got somebody that's always kind of dark and kind of a downer,
right?
And there's people like that just are always kind of, their mood's kind of low. If their mood comes up and they're happy all of a sudden, you should be worried. We should ask about them, because a lot of times for that person, they've just kind of made that commitment in their mind that they're going to take their life, and it takes that burden off their shoulders, and they finally feel good. And so I think key is paying attention, looking around, watch people. I mean, I'm a people watcher anyway, but you could put me at the airport and I'd be fine all day just
happy.
watching people. But But if we're watching people, you're going to be aware if something seems odd. The hardest thing that I think people have is asking the question, are you thinking about suicide? Or, man, you're going through some hard stuff. And sometimes when people are going through hard times like this, they're thinking about suicide. Are you thinking about suicide?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because some people will say, are you thinking about hurting yourself? That's not a good way to ask it, because for them, they're wanting to end the hurt.
Right.
And so,
yeah, I don't want to hurt myself more.
No, they're not thinking that taking their life is going to hurt themselves. It's solving that problem.
Yeah.
And, I think one of the misconceptions is that people are weak. It's a chicken that's going to take their life. They're taking the easy way out. And so, for you and I, this will make sense. But do you remember where you were when September 11th hit?
Yeah.
You remember what was going on
Absolutely.
right at that moment?
Right in that moment.
I was sitting in my house in Sandy. I was sitting at the foot of my bed, and my sister-in-law called and says, turn on the news. You know, the plane just struck one of the Trade Center towers. We turned it on, and I don't think that TV went off for 3 days. I mean, we were just
glued to it. Yep.
Glued to it. But
yeah.
Do you remember the first plane hit? We were kind of confused. Was it an accident?
Yeah. What was going on?
Second plane hit. We're like, this is intentional. This is
yeah.
Act of terrorism, right? We're dialing it in. I mean, we can't even imagine what's going on, but we're watching that. Something interesting happened. You had those gaping holes in both of those towers. Smoke was, going through the sky. And the news crew started to pick up something that day. There were people in those broken windows above where the plane struck. And what were they doing?
Yeah, they were
jumping.
They were jumping.
Now, they've gone back and they've reviewed the tapes from that day from all the security cameras and the buildings around it.
Yeah.
There were over 200 jumpers that day.
Really?
From the trade towers. But what's interesting is not one of us was sitting on our sofas, sitting on the edge of our bed, watching that TV, sitting at our computer monitors at work, watching that, saying, wow, they took the chicken way out. That was the easy way out.
Right, right.
But by definition of the word suicide, they died by suicide, right?
Yeah.
What we have to remember, and I think this is key, when you look at somebody, picture that tower. Picture that trade tower. We knew it was bad. We knew it was bad, but from our couch and from our vantage point, we couldn't recognize how bad it was inside that building.
Yeah.
And those people are inside those windows going, is it better for me to face what's inside that tower or get out of it?
Yeah.
And I think that's much the same with people that struggle with suicide. We don't know what's going on inside.
We don't.
People can keep it masked and people can keep it hid. And we just need to look at people without judgment. It's got to be pretty bad if you're willing to take your life. It's got to be, things have to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal is we don't want anybody to do that.
Right.
So if we can reach them at that point of crisis and offer them options, help, it can make a huge difference. And so,
wow, very
key
well
is
said.
just watching people.
Yeah.
Paying attention and caring more about those around us,
Yeah. Wow. No, thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of people, they do worry about, like, what do I say? What do I do? And how do I handle these things? And I think that's really sound advice. What you just said, I think that sounds, we need to be more attentive of what's going on around us with the people that we're rubbing shoulders with.
Yeah. And I mean, we see their messages on social media too.
Yeah.
If you see something on social media, reach out to that person and say, hey, are you okay?
Yeah, you're okay. Can I help you? I'm here for you, kind of thing.
And it's interesting because when people are in that suicide crisis, the one thing they want to do, and with the work you do in addiction recovery, isolation is a killer.
It is.
And so they want to withdraw from their family and their friends. They want to be alone. They want to have that alone time. And let me tell you, nothing good comes in that alone time. I mean, it's one of those deals. I always tell people, have you ever had a toothache? A toothache sucks, and you're trying to get into the dentist and stuff. Yeah. Nothing sucks worse than that toothache when you're laying in bed at night. It's dark in the room, and the only thing you can focus on is that throbbing pain in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing with isolation. If there's other things preoccupying your time, people talking to you, and you're having that connection with people, you're in a much better place. But when you isolate,
Yeah.
your peripheral vision comes in, it narrows, and all you focus on is the problem.
Yeah, that reminds me of the principle of what you focus on increases.
Yeah.
And you're saying it perfectly there, and that makes a lot of sense. And so, we say in our industry, connection's the opposite of addiction, right?
Absolutely.
I think connection is the key for all of us, because that's really what we're ultimately looking for.
When we've talked about it, you and me, about how intertwined these things are. Addiction, suicide. I mean, any type of prevention is connected in one form or another. And so it's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Well, I want to. We were sharing before we went live. You were sharing something you wanted to talk about. I want you to tell us, what is your why? And there's kind of a story behind that. Would you share that with us, Jon?
Well, it's interesting. I read a book, and for those of you that know me, you've probably heard me tell the story. My wife and I were called on a mission for the church. It's been a while ago. We were called to run the addiction recovery program in the West Valley Mission, and we were called for 18 months, and we finished a little over 4 years of it, and stepped away from it right as COVID was starting. And so I've shared this in the recovery groups in the 12-step program and stuff, and it fit for that. But it really fits my why, is why I'm doing the prevention thing. And there's this book is by Admiral William McRaven. It's called Make Your Bed.
Yeah.
And in that book, he became a Navy SEAL, ended up over all of the Navy SEALs in the Western U.S. I believe half the country was under his command. But back when he was young and he decided he wanted to be a Navy SEAL, they sent him down to San Diego for the training. And it was tough training for him. And this guy's tougher than nails, right?
Right, yeah.
But there is a week during that training that they refer to as Hell Week. And what they want to do is they want to get the weak recruits out. Let's get them out of here so that we can focus on the ones that are really going to make it.
Yeah.
And so they put them through Hell Week, and this Hell Week is literally hell. I mean, lack of sleep, lack of food. They are going all the time. Well, Wednesday of Hell Week is the worst day. That's when they try to weed out, a bunch of them.
Right.
And so what they did was they wake them up in the middle of the night, make them pack their rafts down to the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, man.
And they get in those rafts and they paddle all the way down to the border of Mexico. They're in San Diego, but it's still a long way. It's cold. If you've ever been down in San Diego, everybody thinks, oh, it's warm. It's chilly. The wind coming off that Pacific Ocean is cool. It's cold.
It is.
Middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's cold. And so they get in those rafts and they're paddling down. They've had no sleep. Paddle down to what's called the Tijuana Mud Flats. And as they get down to that Tijuana Mud Flats, they knew that they were going to have this. I mean, rumors go around about what's coming.
Right? Yeah, what we're up
They know
for.
what's coming. The Tijuana Mud Flats is one of the scariest days there. So they get them down to this mud flat, and it's kind of like clay, wet clay, but it's chest deep. So they get out of the rafts, put them up on shore, and they get into this area where they've got some dikes built up around it, and they get standing chest deep in this clay and mud, and it's ice cold. Sun still hasn't come up.
Right.
And the officers are up there barking out orders, do this, do that. And they were doing relays and races. And if you can imagine doing that surrounded by thick clay, it's hard to move. It's hard to make your way, and probably looks ridiculous.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
But they keep these guys going. No food, no sleep, and they're in formation doing these relays all day long. Well, the sun comes up. It still starts to warm up the air, but that clay is still ice cold.
Oh, man.
And they're almost at the point of hypothermia. And that sun goes back down that evening. They're still doing these relays. Wow. They haven't had a break.
Man.
Just beating them down, right? And they're telling them how worthless they are, and how it goes. And they're just beating them down. Well, those trainers are up on the dike, and they're started a fire, and they're making soup. And they can smell it, right? Smell the soup. They can smell the hot coffee up on the dike. And sun goes down, and one of the officers goes, "Listen, you guys are weak. You're worthless. You're this. You're that. There is no way you are ever going to be a." And I'm taking out all the
Sure.
making this age appropriate, but telling them
Right.
how worthless they are,
Yeah.
and that they're never going to be Navy SEALs. They're not fit to be Navy SEALs, and so he finally says, "Guys, come on. All I need is for 5 of you to quit. 5 of you quit. All you got to do is come on up here with me, make you some hot soup. We got you some hot soup and hot coffee. We just need you to recognize you're never going to make it. You're
Right.
not strong enough. You're not fit to be a Navy SEAL. As soon as 5 of you quit, that can be right now. 5 of you quit. We're done for the day. We'll head back, get cleaned up, and you have your warm beds at home at the barracks, right?" And William McCraven said, "Man, I was not going to give up." And he says, as he's saying that, the guy next to me starts to inch forward. And he goes, I grab his arm, and I'm not going to let him go. I'm going to keep him right here.
Yeah.
You're not going to quit. And I told him, "You're not going to quit. Come on. You've got this. Come on." And he says, and his will to quit was stronger than his grip. And the guy broke free, started inching his way up to that dike, because he recognized he was the guy that needed to quit. He wasn't going to make it. And he starts inching his way forward, and he sees the eyes of the other guys, and there's weakness in those eyes. They're like, "Yeah, I'm going to be one of those 5 too." And as he starts to get closer to that dike, a voice from the back starts singing. And William McCraven goes, "Man, it was terrible. It was out of tune. It sounded horrible."
Right.
You could tell the guy was worn. He was tired. His voice was rough. But he said, "You know what happened? In that moment, one voice turned to 2. 2 turned to 3. And before you knew it, all of us were in there singing in unison." And he said, right before that guy got to the dike to quit and give up, and I should back up. The trainer and the officers are going, "Knock it off. Quit singing. If you keep singing, we're going to have more time in the mud," telling them, "Knock it off. We will stay here all night long if we have to." But they wouldn't quit singing.
Wow.
And before that guy got to the dike and quit, he turned around and inched his way back into formation. And so when people say, "Why are you doing this?" Why, it's a bummer. It's not a fun thing to.
Not fun.
It's not fun to work in. It's a lot of sad stories. You can tell that's probably not good for me, but he inched his way back. And so my goal is to be the guy that starts the singing, and and to let people know that, there's hope. In addiction, there's hope. You're sitting in that 12-step program thinking, "Man, I'm never going to be able to stay clean." They just need somebody to offer that hope, and hope is key.
Yeah.
And so when I think of a story that explains my why, that's it.
Wow, that is amazing. I've heard a little bit about him. There's a video that we actually show to some of our clients here about him.
I know which one you're talking
but they don't
about.
go into detail like that. And I didn't know the backstory. I kind of knew them, the singing, but I had no idea the story behind it. So that is powerful. And that's really what you've been doing, man. You started singing, and people are starting to join in, and you're starting to make an impact,
Well, that's the goal,
Mm-hmm.
Are we ever going to stop suicide from happening? I don't know. But you know what? We can make a dent in it. And that's one of those things. And, one of the things we've done, too, that if you don't mind me bringing up, because it has to do with veterans.
Please, yeah.
Is,
that was going to be my next question.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought, that kind of leads me into it. I grew up in a military household. My dad was out at Dugway Proving Grounds till he retired. But it's interesting. We ask these guys to go out and do the unthinkable, go around the world, do really hard things, right? But yet there's a saying that we always hear. You hear it in the movies, the war movies and stuff, "Leave no man behind," right?
Yeah.
We're not going to leave somebody on the battlefield. But yet what happens with our veterans is they come home and they're struggling with things that they've had to do, things they've seen. And, we hear about PTSD all the time. PTSD wasn't always something that they called it. Back in World War II, they called it shell-shocked. They'd come home and they were shell-shocked. But these veterans come home and they find it really difficult to fit back into a normal life after doing what they've done.
Right.
You'll see the struggle. And consequently, we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Now that number is not correct, but it's the number we go with, because if they die of an overdose, unless they've left a note, it goes down as an accidental overdose.
Oh,
so
gotcha. So
some of those things you don't
know.
You don't know. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's much higher, but
Sure.
20, 22 a day is what we go
Yeah.
with. And to kind of give you an idea, we were asked to go up to the Capitol and be part of a night called Thank You for Your Service. And this was in 2017. 2017, we went up and took part in this evening at the Capitol. We watched a documentary called Thank You for Your Service. And there was a statistic that stuck in my head, and I've never been able to get it out. But during that documentary, they said in the Vietnam War, back when we were little kids, Vietnam War, we lost 58,220 soldiers to combat. 58,000. It's just amazing. If you've ever seen the Vietnam Wall, it's staggering when you look at the number of names.
The names,
we have a replica up in Layton here, and I've stood in front of it and just in awe at how many names of those Vietnam soldiers that we've lost. 58,000. But since the Vietnam War, of only the Vietnam soldiers, we've lost over 170,000 to suicide. So 3-1.
Wow.
Basically 3-1.
That's
so
staggering.
we say we're not going to leave anyone behind. They come home and they get lost in the shadows.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And so after that watching that film at the Capitol, I said, you know what? There's a traveling monument that you can bring to your city, and they'll set it up for a minute and then take it away. But there is not a permanent monument dedicated to veteran suicide and solving that problem. So in 2018, January 1st, we started raising money for a bronze statue. It's 18 feet tall.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? I live in Tooele. We've got Dugway Proving Grounds in Tooele County. We've got the Tooele Army Depot. And I thought, what a better place than to put it right here where we live. And so we ended up raising the money and unveiled that statue by real famous local sculptor, Dan Snar. And it found its home in the Tooele Memorial Veterans Park. And it's 18 feet tall, but the pedestal is kind of the key. We talk about those numbers I gave from Vietnam.
Right,
on that pedestal, the pedestal's concrete, 6 feet tall. And what we're doing is we're putting 6-inch bronze plaques of resources. People like my buddy Josh Hansen with Continue Mission up in North Salt Lake. He came home after having traumatic brain injuries, and he started a foundation to try to get these guys back together, give them that community,
the
so that
connection
they
piece.
can they go mountain biking, skiing, cross country skiing, snowshoeing, and he gets them together and where they can have that camaraderie and so we're putting those plaques on, and my goal is to continue to add plaques every year, and we're going to do that so that when a family goes and sees that monument, they might go, gosh, I didn't even know this stuff was even available.
That's a wonderful idea.
And so we're going to keep 6 feet's a lot of concrete to cover. So we're going to we're going to continue to add plaques to that and offer resources to help those struggling vets when they come home. And so that's something we're really proud of. And when we did it, I didn't think we could. The value of that statue is $250,000. I never thought in a million years we were going to be able to raise the money to put that statue in, and we gifted it to the city of Tooele. But the day that we unveiled that, man, you could have heard a pin drop. We had the governor declared it Life's Worth Living Day. It was standing room only in the park. We put out, I think it was 300 or 400 chairs, and I thought, man, we're never going to fill those chairs, but how cool would it be if we could fill up the chairs? We actually had standing room only.
Man.
We had a 1-star general. We had all of the politicians that kind of helped push this, and it was amazing that day to how many families came up to me afterwards and said, holy cow, we can't thank you enough for putting this in here. And, it's not just a Utah deal. It's the first in the country.
Man, that's amazing.
If it only connects one veteran, it's worth the $250,000.
That's amazing, John. Thank you for sharing that
Man,
with
I
us.
sound like a boob on your thing.
Hey, no.
Can you edit all that out?
Nope. Sorry, I can't do that. No, and I love it. I love that you're real, and I love that you're vulnerable right now, and that you're, again, I think that's why you're so good at what you do, John, is you are so empathetic, and you do care, and you want to make a difference in this world, and I think we need more people like you, and I don't know, you're an inspiration to me. When I've known about you. I did your podcast. I studied up on you a little bit, but to sit here across from you face to face and hear these things and see the emotion and see the love you have for these people who are struggling, it really inspires me. I want you to know that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, if people want to get to know you better and to find out more information on, your foundation, and then also maybe this veterans statue and monument and things that you're doing, and maybe they want to get a plaque on that cement pedestal, how would they do that?
Well, I'll tell you what. So we're in the process of revamping our website.
Okay.
Our website currently it's getting there. We got to dial it in the rest of the way. So forgive me when you get there. But Life's LIF like Frank LIFES lifesworthlivingfoundation.net. That'll get you to the page that's being built.
Great.
We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. You can email me at lifesworthlivingfoundation@gmail.com.
Okay.
What was I going to tell you? One thing that we do offer is we do QPR training. It's a 2-hour training. We can do it in churches and businesses, in schools. We also offer Talk Saves Lives, and that's a 2-hour training. If you're in this space and you're wanting kind of a more in-depth training, I offer a training called Safe Talk. It is a half-day training. It can be done in a business. The last one I did was for all the school counselors at Tooele School District. And
wow. Cool.
It's great for those people because it doesn't just kind of touch on the subject. We have time to talk about it.
Right.
And we were set up to be trained in April in another training called Working Minds. And Working Minds is dialed in for the workplace, right? Because you don't think about it. You spend time with your family. You spend time sleeping, but you spend a lot of your time at work. And so those coworkers can be key in noticing when you're struggling.
Absolutely.
And so that training, I think, is a 2-hour training. And if you're interested in that, we were partnering with the health department in Tooele. And even though I don't personally have my training yet because of COVID, they're coming in from Colorado to train us.
Oh, great.
If you're interested in that, I can still line up something through my friends that are doing it as well. And so trainings are available. I'm available for speaking. But yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is, I think one of the problems you have, and maybe you see it in the recovery world, but one of the problems you have in suicide prevention is it's very territorial. And so you might have one group that says, well, we do this better than that group, and one group that wants to do their thing, and nobody wants to be walked on. But I'll tell you, I think one of the things that we've been most successful in is we'll work with anybody. And there's things that my foundation can do that the school district can't do.
Yeah.
There's things that the school district can do that the health department can't do, and and the communities that care, and different groups. And so we don't have any of that territory. I don't care who gets credit. I don't care as long as somebody's doing it. And so
I know that about you, dude. That's
so
awesome.
if somebody wants to bring in a training or have me come and talk to a group, I'd be happy to. We don't charge for it, so
wow,
it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And so you can reach out to me.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook just under my name, Jon Gossett, and you can reach out to me anyway, and I'll return the calls.
Yeah. Well, we'll put that all out when we make this live to everybody. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say, is it okay to say I do a podcast as well?
Please, yes.
And it's Life's Worth Living Foundation podcast. It's not as cool as this one.
No,
this one, because I have to tell you,
probably cooler.
Yeah, whatever. I've been listening to yours since the beginning, and honestly, I listen every week. I haven't missed one of them, and
thank you.
yours is my favorite podcast that I listen to daily because, there's something about, like that story I said about being the voice singing in the back, man. The people that you've had on this podcast, I'm not even worthy to be in that same space, but how cool is it that all these people are doing amazing things? And so there's something uplifting about that. You listen to your podcast, I always leave uplifted, like, wow, there's some amazing people out there. And
well, I'm glad to add you to the list of guests because I look at you the same way. You're doing amazing things. And again, and this by doing your own podcast, we're the lucky ones when I just get to sit here and soak this in. I get to see this face to face.
Yeah, this is harder on this side.
I know. But no, you're wonderful. And yeah, I want everyone to look you up and check out your podcast and check out your website and get involved with what you're doing and see how, have Jon come talk to your group, whether it's, school or a business or even your own family. Jon's that guy. He will help you in any way that he can. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time today out of your busy schedule to come share, about your story, but then more importantly, what you're passionate about in helping and saving other people's lives.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. And I'll tell you, if we keep working together as a community in your communities, Utah's going to continue to drop. We've dropped from 5th to 6th in the nation. That's a big deal.
Hey,
this year we're 6th.
That's success. Yes.
And Tooele County, we were 4th in 2014 when we started. Mm-hmm. We've dropped all the way to 21st out of 29.
Wow.
17 spaces we've moved down. And
that's amazing.
If you're focused on it, those things will happen. So.
Absolutely. And I love that how you keep saying what we focus on there because that is key. Well, there you go, folks. Jon, thank you so much for your time. Please reach out to him and please share this with your entire family. And then obviously if there's someone in your family, in your extended family or a friend or a colleague that's struggling and you just have this, have them listen to this podcast. Maybe this will be the spark to kind of help them become, feel safe enough to actually say, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts. And so please do that. And I can't thank you guys enough for supporting me. And, Jon, I'm grateful to be able to rub shoulders with Jon now. And, I consider you a friend and I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's really hard to close these off, but thanks for taking the time, Jon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Till next time. Love you guys.